Welcome to our channel where we explore some of the most interesting and mysterious stories about the world of movies. In today's video, we're going to take a look at some of the movies that never made it to the big screen. These movies were cancelled due to various reasons, and we'll uncover the stories behind them. The Day the Clown Cried. First on our list is a movie called The Day the Clown Cried, directed by and starring the legendary comedian Jerry Lewis. The movie was about a German clown who is sent to a concentration camp during World War II and is forced to lead Jewish children to their deaths. The film was never released due to legal disputes and concerns over its content. The movie was controversial from the start, with many people questioning whether such a sensitive and tragic subject could be made into a comedy. Lewis reportedly invested over $1 million of his own money into the film, but after a rough cut was shown to a test audience, the movie was pulled from distribution. Lewis himself later called the movie bad and stated that it should never be released. The Fantastic Four. Next up is The Fantastic Four, a movie that was supposed to be released in 1994 but was never officially released. The film was made by Roger Corman Studio, and it was a low-budget adaptation of the popular Marvel comic book series. The reason behind its cancellation is still unclear, but some speculate that it was never meant to be released and was only made to hold onto the rights to the characters. Marvel had licensed the characters to New World Pictures, and if the studio didn't produce a movie featuring the characters by a certain deadline, the rights would revert back to Marvel. According to this theory, the film was never meant to be released, but was simply made to fulfill the licensing agreement. The Other Side of the Wind. The Other Side of the Wind is a film directed by Orson Welles, who is best known for directing Citizen Kane. The film was shot in the 1970s and tells the story of a legendary filmmaker named Jake Hannaford who is attempting to make a comeback with his latest film. The film was shot over several years and was beset by a number of production problems, including budget overruns and legal disputes. Welles struggled to secure funding for the film and was forced to finance much of it himself. He also had difficulty completing the film due to a series of setbacks, including the death of one of the film's stars, and eventually had to abandon the project before it was finished. The movie remained unfinished for decades, and it wasn't until 2018, over 30 years after Welles' death, that it was finally completed and released. The completed film was based on Welles' notes and instructions, as well as some footage that had been edited together by the film's producers. Despite the challenges involved in completing the film, The Other Side of the Wind has been praised by critics for its innovative style and powerful performances, and it remains an important entry in Welles' filmography. Dark Blood is another movie that was never released due to its lead actor's death. The film starred River Phoenix, who passed away before the movie was completed. After his death, the movie was put on hold, and it wasn't until several years later that the director, George Sluizer, managed to complete the film by using voiceover and footage of Phoenix from previous scenes. The Island of Dr. Moreau. Moreau, a movie that went through a tumultuous production process. The Island of Dr. Moreau is a science fiction film based on the novel of the same name by H.G. Wells. The movie was directed by Richard Stanley and starred Marlon Brando, Val Kilmer, and David Thewlis. The film follows a man named Edward Douglas who becomes stranded on an island where Dr. Moreau, a brilliant but mad scientist, is conducting experiments in genetic engineering. Moreau has created a series of half-human, half-animal hybrids, and Douglas soon finds himself caught up in the doctor's twisted experiments. The movie was directed by Richard Stanley, but after several clashes with the producers and actors, he was fired and replaced by John Frankenheimer. The final product was poorly received and was considered a box office failure.